What's up, breathing people? Welcome back. Today, I'm joined by my wife, Brittany, and we're talking about compatibility in relationships. So take it away with the first question.
All right. How to check compatibility in a relationship?
So how you check for compatibility is by talking. No, but that seriously is a huge way to check for compatibility. Actually have conversations around, am I compatible with this person or not?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times people enter into relationships and don't ask questions. We usually will get
what kind of questions?
Questions that actually are meaningful to your life.
Okay.
I mean, I think we ask a lot of questions like, what's your favorite movie? What's your favorite book? What's your favorite TV show? What's your favorite? But we don't really say like, hey, what's your stance on this? Like the things we're going to have to talk about when we have kids.
Yes.
And we're going to have to teach them like how to live. Like the things that we're going to have to face when a financial crisis happens in our lives, or the things we're going to have to know about when this family dynamic takes place.
So all the uncomfortable things.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be uncomfortable when you're searching for compatibility.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. But for some reason, whether it's fear or whether it's just something in our minds that we don't want to mess up the relationship, we avoid these things until way later in the relationship. And I think, honestly, we could get better relationships if we address these things early on.
Yeah. It's just not something that you think about talking about. So how do you make a point to do that? Like, I wouldn't know off the top of my head what questions to ask if I was looking for compatibility.
I think you do.
You do?
I think you do. I think you know what questions you wanted to know about from me.
Yeah.
Maybe you didn't have the chutzpah
to ask
those questions, but you know what you need.
Yeah.
You know what you want to know about. But a lot of times we just don't go there because we are taught, I think there is kind of a cultural thing where dating is for fun. Dating is for enjoyment. Dating is for all of these things other than what will actually, put us on a trajectory towards a more committed relationship.
Yeah.
I think we get there eventually. Usually people have those conversations. Usually people start to get a little deeper as they progress in their relationship. And if they're going towards marriage, if they're going towards, a more committed relationship, they get there.
Yeah.
But what if you just ask those questions from the jump and we're able to know if this person was someone you even want to pursue further than where you're at right now?
What would you say are some resources for people to know what questions to ask? Because it might be in there, but for someone like me who can panic easily, you might be like, I don't know what these questions are. Like, I don't know what to ask. What are some resources that people could go to possibly?
The internet.
Just type into Google and...
I mean, it's not... Like I said, I don't think it's that complicated.
Okay.
Like, what's your stance on religion? What's your stance on politics? What's your stance on anything? All of the issues, all of the big topics in our culture, ask that of the person that you're dating.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is a simple thing. And if they're like, oh, I don't know, then they don't really stand for anything. And that's a red flag.
That is a red flag.
You really should have a person that kind of they don't have to be an expert on any of these things.
But hopefully they're not trying to answer the questions to make you happy. Hopefully they're giving you their honest opinion.
Right.
Yeah.
And if people don't have a stance on something, they don't stand on anything.
Yeah.
You need a stance to just show what foundation you're standing on.
Right.
It's really important for someone to know where you're at. Is this person on shaky ground where they're just kind of whatever the water moves them to stand on, they stand on, or they're really onto something solid?
Yeah.
Where they're like, this is what I believe on this subject. This is what I believe
and
this topic. This
is
is what I believe when it comes to these issues that we will encounter later on in our relationship. I think that's really important that you're like, oh, this person's a solid person, not because of what they project or not because of how much money they have or not because of their job and not because of other life circumstances. What they actually believe is what a person is.
Right.
That's
and if
really
they
important.
Know why they believe those things, then you're going to get to know them even more, and that's going to help you understand who they are. Yeah. That's good. Okay. What are some signs of a compatible relationship?
Compatibility is based on, does this stance, this foundation that this person's standing on match mine? And we don't have to be compatible in every way for the relationship to be successful, for the relationship to have health. But it does determine certain ways in which we will operate within the relationship and in the future.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to have those compatibility metrics to know where and how we will operate in the relationship.
Yeah.
That's why it's really important to gain knowledge of your compatibility with somebody just for that, just to be able to say, is this a non-negotiable or is this a negotiable? Where we don't agree on politics, great. Maybe we can have some really productive conversations around that topic. We don't have a heart that hates people because of their different political beliefs.
Right.
That's a negotiable for me, or it's a non-negotiable. If someone believes this politically, I'm out.
And you know the reasons why, and they're totally different than yours.
Right, right. That's a non-negotiable. There you go.
Right.
Compatibility is very important for both of those, to know if I can or cannot be with this person.
Yeah, so I guess it depends. If it's a dating relationship and you're looking towards marriage, there are key things that you need to make sure you're compatible in, or it won't work. Your relationship just won't ever work.
Right.
So there are there's key things you need to look into.
Mm-hmm.
Like any relationship, whether you're looking for a compatible business partner, there's key things in that they have to match up with you, or it's not going to be a successful partnership.
Right. Compatibility is to determine if this will work in a marriage context.
Yeah.
That's ultimate. And that's for everybody. I know we have a lot of different relational structures in our culture today where marriage is just one of many relational structures, but that is why you seek compatibility, because you know that you're going to have to exist forever till death do us part with this person, and you're going to have to raise children with them if God blesses you with that.
Yeah.
And I know that everybody's like, nah, I seek compatibility for my own interests or my own pleasure or my own whatever it is, my own relationship structure. Fine. It's still an important factor.
Yeah.
But that is its ultimate purpose. We have to be able to align on certain things for this marriage to be successful and for us to teach our kids well.
Right.
And that's why I said you can have differences of opinion, differences of compatibility if it's negotiable and you guys feel like you can actually negotiate on that non-compatibility issue.
Yeah.
Or not issue. It doesn't even have to be an issue. Just whatever that context is that you are not completely compatible in. As long as you can negotiate around that, that's fine. Yeah, I've seen so many marriages where people are not compatible on certain metrics and they do great.
Yeah.
They do great because they've learned and have developed strategies to address that when it's an issue, when it's something that they have to.
Yeah. That's good. What are some signs of an incompatible relationship?
Incompatibility is, it's the same
in the context of a dating relationship.
Right. Incompatibility in a dating relationship refers to your non-negotiables. If we're just going to really say completely, I'm incompatible with this person, that's because you have things already in your mind that's a non-negotiable. I'm incompatible for this thing that I cannot be with someone if they have this in their life. That's incompatibility.
Can you give one example? I'm thinking of, is this a good example? I'm thinking of someone, like a woman who's always wanted to have tons of kids. This is always my example. She wants to have tons of kids, and the person that she's dating is like, yeah, I don't want to ever have kids. You're just not compatible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's an extreme example.
I mean, that's
it happens.
an extreme but easy example.
It definitely happens. And the earlier you know that, the better.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, that would definitely be a case of incompatibility. Yeah, I can't really see a way to work around that. It could be something like, for example, in our marriage, there was definitely a time when you thought that you were going to work forever. Yeah. You're like, yeah, I'll have kids. I want kids, but I don't see myself staying at home and just being a mom.
And can I pause you right there? Because I always want to speak into this. You have to give your partner and your spouse grace and room to grow, because some of their like opinions are going to change and grow. Like, that's something that I thought. And I really was like, I was set on that. Yeah. And then once I had kids, I'm like, this is not cool. And I do not want this. And so
not want what?
I did not want to work full time and have my babies be taken care of by somebody else. So yeah, I just have to throw that in there, that a lot of times some of your opinions or what you think marriage is going to be like, or what you think you're going to want in marriage, it's going to change. And so you do need room. You need room for that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was one of those that I really don't think I explored it too much as a compatibility or uncompatibility issue. It was one of those things where I was like, okay, if that's what you want, fine.
Right.
There's also that. There's also things that are just non-issues where compatibility doesn't really apply here. And that was one of those where I'm like, I'm okay if you want to keep working because that's meaningful to your mind and life and, you know, the kind of forward trajectory of your personal life.
Right.
I was totally fine if you wanted to keep working. I was totally fine if you also wanted to stay home and be a mom. Yeah. So when that shift took place, it wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't an issue from the beginning. So you can't run everything through a filter of compatibility, or is it uncompatibility or non-compatibility? I don't know what words you used.
Signs of incompatible.
Incompatibility.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, not everything has to be filtered through that.
And sometimes you might have a thought or an opinion, but it's not like totally against the other person. Like, they might not agree with you. Like this example right here, you weren't like, yes, you have to work. Like, my wife is going to work because for whatever reason, or the opposite. My wife has to stay home. Like, I don't want to be with somebody. So if you're not like this, then it's okay. Yeah. Yeah. But it's good to know if you are like this and you decide to move forward with something, you have to know that like that's going to be an issue. It's going to be an ongoing issue. Yeah.
I don't really know how else to kind of look at incompatibility. It's the opposite of compatibility.
Yeah, that's good.
Is this something that I really need to focus on or not? Is this a non-negotiable or not? You know.
Yeah.
That's really what you have to determine for yourself, because it's going to be so personal what is incompatible to your life.
Right.
And I like what you said about giving your spouse grace. In a dating relationship, giving that person that you're dating a little grace to, and yourself a little space. Give your partner a little grace and yourself a little space to change.
Yeah, because you will.
Especially if relationships are new. Maybe you're just getting into dating. Maybe you're just new to being in relationships with people. Give a little space for yourself to change. You may have never been confronted with a certain opinion, with a certain stance, with a certain way of doing things, and immediately go to, well, I guess we're just incompatible because my family didn't do it that way. I never did it that way. That's it. That's going to get tough in marriage because we're completely different people.
Yeah, relationships are all about learning. You learn in the relationship is where you grow and where you learn, and you are going to be confronted with opinions and thoughts that you might not even know what you think about yet. And you have to work that out, and the person that you're with might change how they think about it as you work it out.
Yep.
And that's the beautiful thing about relationships. But it's important to know that you don't have to have it all together, and don't expect the person that you're with to have it all together and keep that stance for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
So, yeah. It's a lot. It's a lot. Question 4, explain the difference between chemistry and compatibility in a relationship.
Ooh. The difference between chemistry and compatibility. Interesting. Is there a difference?
There is a difference.
You think there's a difference?
Oh, yeah.
So you could be compatible on these certain things, but not jive with the person's personality.
Or the other way around. So when I think of chemistry, correct me if I'm wrong, that's that initial right off the bat feeling. It's like emotional. Physical and emotional.
I got you.
So you're like, I like this person. We work. We work together.
Yeah.
And you enjoy being with that person, and you just you can feel it, right? Yeah. But they might have stances or beliefs or mindsets that are totally different than yours.
Right.
And that you don't agree with. You want to agree with them because you're like, I like this person and they're funny and I like their personality and I like being with them. They're so fun, whatever it is. But your stances on things that really matter to you are different. Like this, different.
Right. They're gonna get to a point where that chemistry can't sustain
a marriage,
the incompatibility that exists. Yeah. So that's a perfect analogy for chemistry versus compatibility. That physiological connection that's able to take place, opposed to things that are more long term.
Yeah.
That will. Chemistry, it's like sexual connection in a relationship. Chemistry is the sexual connection. Compatibility is those long-term things that will actually matter and last in your relationship. Definitely something to be aware of, especially in the early stages of a relationship. If you can be aware that there is a chemical thing happening within you, it's not bad. There's nothing wrong with that. We are built for that, and it is good. Also, that is why you go to asking these compatibility questions so early on, because knowledge of the incompatibilities in your relationship will influence, potentially, the chemical connection, the chemistry that's taking place between you and that other person. I definitely, with knowledge of certain things about a person, I feel a certain way about them.
Oh, interesting.
There's definitely things that can influence my feelings towards you if I know something about you.
Like once you have knowledge about something that you totally disagree with them.
It could be a political stance. It could be a personal stance. It could be something... Their way of doing things, even just their habits, can definitely influence my attraction or my disdain.
Yeah.
For that person. No matter how beautiful they are. No matter if we talk and there's sparks flying.
Right.
Knowledge of certain aspects about that person allow me to say, yeah, that would never work.
Yeah. But I don't think everyone is like that. So it's important to know.
People that are honest with themselves are like that.
Yes, that's what I was going to get at. You have to be honest, because you might feel a certain way and want this relationship to work so bad that you are not honest with yourself.
Right.
And you ignore the things that you know. Right. And so don't do that.
Well, no, you have to stand on something personally to ever judge another person's stance on anything.
Yeah.
If you're on sinking sand. And if you're just blown this way and that by every wind of doctrine, as the Bible talks about, you're not going to be able to truly determine compatibility or incompatibility in a relationship. So you really need to be able, and we've talked about this a lot in the past on how to enter into dating relationships well and in a healthy way. It's very determined on your personal kind of the foundation that you stand on. You're like, you know where you're at personally. You know where you're at in many aspects of your life, so that when you go into a relationship, when the incompatibility presents itself, you're able to be like, nope.
Yeah.
Nope. Because I know where I'm at.
Yes.
And that's not it.
Right.
And you can operate in health there. You can operate in consistency also. Because that's one thing that's going to hurt your relationships. If you have nothing that you're standing on, you're going to be inconsistent.
And unhappy.
Well,
eventually.
Yeah, the unhappiness will come from your dating partner or future spouse's inability to actually ever determine if they're compatible with you or not.
Yeah.
You could be compatible one day and not the other. That's not lasting. You need to be able to be secure in something so that your partner can determine, like, yes, this will work or not. Going this way and that is not really fair to that other person, because they can't ever find their footing in the relationship.
Yeah.
Because once you guys start walking together in the relationship, you need to be walking on the same ground. Someone's walking on an uneven surface beside you and tripping all over the place. They're going to be pulling you down. They're going to be falling on you. They're going to be, it's going to be chaos. So they need to know where they're standing from you first, knowing where you stand.
Yeah.
And then you guys can work out the compatibility between each other.
Yeah, that's good. Number 5. How does individuality play a role in relationships, and what should it look like within a relationship?
I think individuality is very important in relationships. We've talked about separateness in relationships as a something to achieve in relationships, something to put on a pedestal in your relationships for health.
Yeah.
Where we really value the individuality and separateness of the person we're in relationship with. So that's another thing when seeking compatibility and navigating through chemistry in relationships. You really need to be able to get the information and knowledge that you need to obtain, while at the same time not pulling that person towards your stances and pulling them towards your opinions and pulling them towards your values, keeping them where they're at and valuing them in their separateness is very important. So yes, I want to find out if we're compatible or not, but at the same time, while we're doing that, I'm going to value any time that we're different. Anytime that you give your opinion and your values and your moral stances and your whatever it is, I'm going to value that, even if I don't agree, even if it is a non-negotiable, we're incompatible in this relationship, I'm going to value that, because that is going to have to be your stance throughout that relationship. One of the major things that people can do to improve the health of the relationship is separate themselves in a healthy way from their spouse. You do not want to all believe the same thing.
Right.
You do not want to believe it in the exact same way. You do not want to have the same dreams, opinions. Like that is so unhealthy, because it strips individuality. You had individuality, and then in a lot of relationships, it becomes this mesh where you can't even tell the difference between the people anymore. And some people are like, that's so cute. It's not.
It's easy to do, though. I think a lot of people fall into that because they think that they have to agree and feel the same way as their spouse or their person they're dating to make them to feel that love, to maintain that love feeling.
Right.
And that's just a lie. But I know that I that's something that I believed without knowing it until I had time to grow and realize, no, it's okay for me to hold on to my opinions. I don't have to change them because you disagree.
Right.
We can still love each other and respect our individuality in that.
Right.
And I just want to put that out there because sometimes there's like the two sides, right? Some people want to change the other person. And then some people feel like, oh, I have to, like, my opinion must be wrong. No, facts can be right and wrong, but opinions aren't really, sometimes they could be wrong.
Yeah.
But in general,
if that's your opinion at the time, that's your opinion.
Yeah, that's your opinion.
And I could disagree, but I must respect it.
Right.
Not agree, respect. There's a vast difference between those two things. I could be in vehement disagreement with your perspective.
Right.
And hope to change your perspective in time.
Right.
But I'm not going to force that change because I know that the stripping of your individuality leads to regret. It leads to a regress in the relationship, and it leads to eventually you really having resentment of me for that action in the relationship. We don't want to resent our spouse.
Right.
We don't want to resent the people that we're dating. We want to love them. And love is a given action. It is something that there's no stipulations attached to the love. When there's things attached to the love that is being given, or to the love that's being given back with things attached to it. It can go both ways. Like you said, I could be manipulating you and trying to get your our love to act in a way that you're in agreement with me, and that you are like me, and
and that could come from a good place too. Yeah. Someone could think that is the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
Because we see that a lot. That's what we see a lot of times, that's what we've assumed.
Well, we've been told that, the Bible says, you shall leave your father and mother and the two shall become one. And we just take that to the extreme and say one in everything. It doesn't say that. One flesh. So there's that sexual connection of us becoming one. And that's why it's so important to be with one person.
Right.
Because there is a divine oneness that is laid out in the Bible. Not a arbitrary oneness, or like, I had sex.
Yeah.
No, not what it's talking about. Past that, though, it doesn't say anything that you must think, act, feel the same as the other person.
Yeah.
That's unhealthy. It's very unhealthy. And I think if we sat with that understanding for a while, we would come to that understanding. I know I did. When I first was presented with that, I was like, oh man, I definitely have a propensity towards drawing you towards my opinions, drawing you towards my thought process, drawing you towards my habits, instead of valuing your individuality, valuing the way you do things. And so when I was confronted with that, I don't want you to do that to me.
Right.
So I can't do that to you.
Yeah.
Because that is in direct violation of what I would want to be done to myself.
Right.
I don't want to be you.
Yeah.
I want to be me.
And yeah, I love that. I love that idea of being different, but still together in a marriage relationship, and being able to still change when you choose to, right? As you work things out and you talk through things, you can take on another person's opinion, but not because it's just their opinion and you should have it, but because your opinion changed through the relationship. And that's beautiful.
And just in a Christian context, and I'm just thinking about this now, actually. So we call the separateness a holy separateness because we believe that the Holy Spirit is at work in each of our lives, not in our combined lives. We believe he's at work in each of our lives. So there's a work that the Holy Spirit, the person of Jesus Christ that he sent after he ascended into heaven is doing in our lives. We believe he's transforming us, he's growing us, he's edifying us, he's doing this great work in each of us. If we are all meshed together, it's going to be confusing to us, not to him, of what that work looks like.
Yes.
Because
and we're not giving him space to do it either.
We're not giving him space. Also, does the things that he is telling us to do, is that for us or is that for our spouse? Is that for us in the relationship or them? Like, it gets confusing when there's not separateness.
That's
that work
good.
needs to take place in your individuality because he wants to do a specific work to you as a person because you've come up with your own family and the issues that came with that. You've come up with your own family and the way you communicated, and the Holy Spirit is at work to get you to the communication that he wants you to speak in the new family of Jesus Christ. You know, so that work has to be individual. It can't take place in this enmeshed relationship. So individuality is extremely important.
I like that. I want to think on that now for a little bit. Later. What are the different stages of a relationship? Dating relationship.
I don't know. It's so different between people. There are some people that need more time in certain stages. That's why I don't know if certain stages actually exist because some people just skip them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people are just like, you're the one for me.
Yeah, that's
and
true.
And then they're married.
Mm-hmm. And it works out.
So there's no specific stages in a relationship. I guess if I had to kind of lay some out, there would be the stage of knowledge where it's all about a lot of people will experience a time where they just want to talk with that person for extended periods of time, where they're just on the phone with them for hours and they're just, you know, with them for hours, just being with that person, learning about that person, trying to just obtain as much information of that person so as to determine if we jive on any areas of our life. And so I think there's a knowledge stage, and then there's stages, I think, that occur after that where that knowledge has pretty much been obtained, where now you're just seeing if you can exist with each other well, where you're just bringing them to your family functions. You're bringing them to your outings with your friends. You're bringing them to different social situations to see how that interaction takes place in different areas. So you're in a testing mode, I guess, kind of a testing stage, because you want to determine if you can do that for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
So I think we go through knowledge, we go through testing, we go through, I think there's a stage in which commitment is the focus.
Yeah, like preparation and commitment.
Yeah, preparation, commitment, yeah. We're trying to determine how committed we can actually be to this relationship.
Yeah.
And that's from all of those things. Okay, I got knowledge, I got data of how that person exists in these social groups, and they did a great job.
Yeah, yeah.
Now I have to determine if I can maintain my part in this relationship, or if I'm still dragging my feet.
Right.
And that could lead to the end of the relationship. That could lead to just needing more time, which you have to be careful of. I worry about people that have been in 7-year dating relationships. Some people, you know, they basically are married without being married. I wish you would get married just to have that kind of holy union before God. If that's not your thing, I get it. But that's more than some people that are literally just dating for years. You have to be careful of that, especially if you're a person in that kind of relationship that would like more commitment and have made that decision to be more committed, and you're still in a dating relationship after 5+ years.
It's a long time.
Something's wrong.
Yeah.
Something's wrong. And maybe you're just not having the right conversations. on compatibility. Commitment is a big factor in compatibility.
Right.
Can I be committed for the long haul with this person? If the person's like, I don't know.
Oh boy.
Maybe that's where you're at. Great. You're compatible in that way.
Yeah.
Not healthy compatibility, but you're compatible in that way.
Yeah.
Most people are going to feel incompatible when that's presented. Whereas like, I just don't know if I can commit forever. Forever just seems very long. Okay.
Yeah.
You're not ready to get married. You're not ready to have a long-term relationship.
Right.
Good to know. Good to know as early on as possible.
That's good. What should a man do in a relationship?
What
That is a question that was asked.
What should a man do in a relationship? That seems like somebody was very specific but didn't want to actually ask the question.
I will give my thoughts behind where I think this question is coming from. So my guess is that a girl dating a guy wants to know what his role should be.
I got you. That makes a lot more sense. What should you do? I don't know. I don't know what I should do.
What is a man's role in a dating relationship? I'll switch it up.
I think it's definitely determined differently based on the compatibility measures that you put up in the relationship, because that person's going to need to act in certain ways to meet your compatibility kind of guidelines. So it can vary, but I think some good things that a man can do in a relationship is show in kind of microcosms ways in which they will be the major things that people are looking for in relationships long term. So let's show in a microcosm, like when girls are like, I don't like when he pays for my food. He's showing you in a small microcosm that he can be provider.
Yeah.
That's something that's really meaningful for a guy. And when girls try to deny that from a guy, I think it's really is that the right word? Demasculating?
Yeah.
Emasculating. There we go. I don't think demasculating is a word. Sounds cool though.
It does sound like it's a word, but maybe it's not.
But I think you strip a guy of his pride, of the kind of things that he really values as provider. Men have always been providers since the beginning of time. They went out, they got the food, you ate it, you survived. That's provision.
Right.
So they just have a new world, new time period, this century way of being provider now. And you allowing them to buy your coffee, you allowing them to pay for dinner, just allows them to show you, hey, I got you. Hey, I can be provider. If you want to pay for their food, great. It's fine. I'm not like I'm not going to die on that hill, but at the same time, know the ways in which they're trying to show you bigger things through small actions.
And I want to jump in there because I think what you said is really important, because I don't think women ever hear that. They don't understand, I feel like the culture tells us that when a man holds the door for you or pays for your food, that they're saying you can't do it yourself, which isn't true. And so you just speaking into that is so valuable, because otherwise we're just hearing a lie. I think it's a lie that that's what they think when they do that. But really, I think it's that. They're saying, I care for you. I could provide for you. I'm holding the door open for you because I could care for you. Or I care for you. And it's not anything weird or that they think less of you.
There are going to be times in your relationships where you need to be cared for.
Yeah.
To think otherwise is such a negatively prideful and negatively egotistical way of thinking.
Yeah.
It's so arrogant to think that there's never going to be a time in your relationship that you need your spouse to cook for you. You've cooked for me and I've cooked for you.
Yeah.
There's going to be times where I'm going to have to get the door because you hurt yourself, or you're going to have to get the door because I hurt myself.
Right.
To think otherwise in the relationship is so disgustingly arrogant.
Yeah.
And so your inability to let this person that you're dating pay for your food, to open the door for you, is so ignorant to relationships.
Right.
You've never been married or have never been in a healthy relationship. So there's just an arrogance about you that would ever think that there's never going to come a time where you'll need that in the future. Obviously, it's a small way to show bigger heart, to show bigger ways that this person will be there for you when the bill comes, to be there for you when you can open that door yourself.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great to have them there?
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great to have that person who's there for you when you need them?
Right.
And to think, I don't need no man. Be lonely. Just be lonely. It's so pathetic when women come with that cliche, I don't need no man. Yes, you do.
Yeah.
And I need a woman.
Yeah.
I need one because it brings so much value to my life.
Right.
Stop it.
Yeah.
I just, that type of stuff, the lack of care through your statements shows that you're not ready for a committed relationship and you shouldn't have one.
Right.
You should be so there to let that person care for you because I want to be cared for.
Right.
And on the reverse side, the guys are just like, that just come with that attitude that women should just be subservient in some way. You don't want a servant.
Yeah.
You want a person that's there for you. Servants aren't just there for you. They exist for meeting certain things in your life. That's
they're like not an equal. Yeah.
That's just, I don't know. I think there's just so much unhealth in both of those sides that it just bothers me.
We should have a podcast just about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Let's go.
Any others on what a man's role is in a dating relationship?
No, I think just paying attention to the small ways that they're trying to show you in times to come how they will be there for you. Whether it's provider, whether it's protector, whether it's whatever it is, they're trying to show you now in the dating relationship what they will be able to do in life.
And they should be doing that. Right? You're saying they should be doing those things if the long-term goal is to marry you.
Yeah.
Okay. If they're not showing those things, then maybe they're not ready for a long-term relationship. Or maybe they just haven't been taught those things. I think a lot of people haven't been taught those things.
A lot of people haven't been taught those things. A lot of people have been idealized into not doing those things because they've been put down when they've held the door open for a girl and they've given them a side eye and I don't know. I think there's definitely a lot of guys that feel like I don't even want to date because of some of these negative things that women have placed on them for just trying to be there for them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you might have to just allow the person that you're dating to just be like, hey, I'm okay if you want to just provide for me, if you want to protect me, if you want to be whatever you should be for me in this relationship that just makes you feel like a man.
Yeah.
I want that for you. So have at it.
Right.
I think that would go a long way. Yeah. So do they need to do those things? I don't know. If they're allowed to do them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they should do them.
Yeah.
They should do them.
Last question. How can a girl know if her boyfriend really loves her?
I think the only way that you can know if someone loves you is if you make a mistake and they show mercy. I think that's the major way that you can demonstrate love in any relationship, marriage relationship or dating relationship. I made a mistake and my spouse didn't react with anger. They didn't react with kind of dismay or with embarrassment. Because that cuts deep.
Yeah.
They reacted with mercy.
Yeah.
Where I'm going to give you another chance. I'm going to give you another opportunity to be the person that I know you to be. I think that's love.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
I like that. That's it.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for watching this episode of Just Breathing Podcast. If you're still here, thank you. I appreciate you being here. If you don't mind, if you could just hit the subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, hit like. You don't have to hit the notification bell because you have enough notifications in your life and I don't want to add to it. But if you're on iTunes or Spotify, please follow and subscribe on there. Leave us a review if you're on iTunes. That does help us just get out there to more people and get this information out there. We will see you on the next episode. We love you all. Goodbye.
Oh, that was so sweet. I was like, oh my goodness, don't cry.